in these songs, while we're talking about Cap, let's see. Mr. Stillwell referred to himself as Big Slime.
Yes.
Okay, you ever hear anyone else refer to Mr. Stillwell as Big Slime?
I'm trying to think. He's been referred to as Big Slime and Life-Size Lizard.
Right, that's what he calls himself.
He's also referred to as that. I've heard him.
Okay. So he was claiming to be Big Slime in
Correct.
the song that he wrote or performed. Okay. Then we got, let's see, Dolly White in one of the songs. Bullshit, right?
Dolly, yes.
She brags about making $201K in a day.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know, is there any evidence that you have that on that day that Dolly White was claiming that she made $201K that day, that she actually made $201,000 that day?
I wouldn't know what day it is to be able to tell you. She could have been on Instagram or somewhere bragging about having 200K. So without knowing the day, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Do you have any evidence that Dolly White, I'm not talking about Jeffrey Williams, I'm talking about Dolly White, has ever made $201,000 in a day in her life?
I couldn't tell you what Miss Greer makes.
Could that have been Cap?
It could, but it also could not have been.
Okay. So, we talked about the lyrics on direct. In these songs, Mr. Stillwell never mentioned an infinity.
No.
Never mentioned Diamante Kendrick.
No.
Never mentioned Demise McMullen or Nard.
No.
Never mentioned Justin Cobb or Doo-Wop.
No.
He mentioned being arrested for a homicide and beating it.
I don't want to, I'm going to tread lightly on it. I don't know. Can I get some direction on how
He said I beat
Okay, but I just want to
rap.
make sure I'm approaching it correctly. I don't want to...
Yeah, I'll ask a very targeted question.
Okay.
He mentioned on Slat Talk, I beat a murder rap.
Yes, he did.
Paid my lawyer $30 for that.
He did mention that.
Okay. He also mentioned beating a homicide on another song, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have... The fact is that Mr. Stillwell, he's on trial for that here today. At the time he wrote those lyrics, he had never beaten a homicide.
That's a real slippery slope to explain that. I don't want to say some... If I can get some...
He had never been cleared or went to trial and was found not guilty of a homicide.
Yes.
Yes. So, Mr. Shart asked you a very specific question, and you seem to have answered in a way that surprises everybody. So, we need to get some clarity from you. Okay, so can you listen really carefully to what his question is and answer that question? And then if your answer is still the same, we need to ask some follow-up of you. Okay, go ahead.
In the songs that we reviewed, Mr. Stillwell claimed to have beat a homicide, correct? Or
Correct.
beat a murder rap, beat a homicide.
Correct.
Okay. Did he, in fact, beat a murder rap or beat a homicide, as he claimed?
I think he...
Go ahead and explain it now, because the jury's not in here.
Yes,
We're just
yeah.
trying to sort out what
I
it
think
is.
from my understanding of Mr. Stillwell back in the back in that time, he was under the impression that the Donovan Thomas case had been, that they were going to beat it, like they were about to beat it, or it was beat, or it wasn't going to be an issue. I didn't want to say that because I didn't know.
Well, that's good that you didn't
Yes.
say that, but that's not the question that he asked
I'm
at
not
the
asking
time.
what Mr. Stillwell thought. I'm
Okay,
asking-
yeah, then no.
And listen
Okay.
very carefully to what he actually, I mean, that's not what he asked a minute ago, but you don't have like knowledge that nobody else has that he was tried for some other
no, no.
murder and got a hung jury or an acquittal, right?
No, Your Honor. I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure.
So if Mr. Short asks you, has he ever beaten one, and by beaten, I mean, gotten an acquittal or however he phrases it, what would your answer be then?
No, I just didn't know
Okay.
the specific outcome of if it was.
Has he
Dismissed
even
and
been
reinvent-
tried for
No.
another murder?
He
Okay,
has not
so
been
don't
tried.
say, I don't know the specific outcome if he has never been tried for one other than the one he's on trial for right now, okay?
Yeah,
You understand?
I just thought, I didn't know if he meant it was dropped. That was all, Your Honor.
That's not what was asked.
But that's not what he just asked right here, Your Honor. And
I
think
know
that's
that,
the-
I know that.
I think that's the clarity that needs to be had, because at the time, Mr. Stillwell was on bond for the murder, and so.
That is not anywhere near what he asked. He asked, has he ever been tried for and acquitted of murder?
But what he
Being given a bond before a trial ever occurs does not a yes answer for, has he ever been tried and acquitted?
Right, but even the question he just asked right now was not that direct.
I know,
question.
that's
So
because,
that's the-
I know, but just now what he asked, we're just trying to figure out what it is she might mean. And are you then going to ask?
I'll ask about the bond next.
Okay. So if he asked about bond, then you can answer whatever you know about whether he was released on bond.
I can be
Okay?
respectful of his rights, Your Honor. That's all.
Okay. Is anybody need any more clarity on?
I definitely do, because I think on redirect,
Okay.
I think it becomes very relevant to ask the witness, at the time he wrote those songs, is it, based on everything that you know and speaking to him and other people, that did he believe he beat the murder?
I would not let you ask that, because how on earth can she know what is in his head? I mean, you could ask it, but I would overrule it if objection were made.
I understand, Your Honor.
Then you point that, if that is in evidence, then you point that out in closing argument.
I think we will put them in now. Okay.
Well, y'all have to make a decision, each of you, as to how you're going to present your case, or. All right. Do we have clarity now?
I think I'm clear. Yes, I'm clear.
You're going to answer first a direct question about whether or not he's been tried or convicted. You're going to ask that direct question first, and then you're going to ask about the bond. Okay.
And then, I mean, Mr. Abadi, you suggested that you might then introduce evidence that he said what were you saying?
Well, I think I have to find the call, but I think that creates the questions on redirect that then can be asked is, at the time that he wrote those songs, had he been on bond for a number of years? I mean, he makes all of that very relevant as it relates to diving into why he said that in the lyrics of the song. So I think the whole point of this is a very slippery slope, because we begin to talk about things that I don't necessarily we all want to get into as it relates to objections and objections for mistrial, because all of these questions allow us to then ask on redirect the specifics as it relates to when he made the song and being released on bond, things of that nature that you can argue as to the belief as to why he believed he beat the murder, because it had been 3, 4, however many years. So he had not.
Well,
been
you can
indicted.
ask that had he been on bond 3, 4, however many years. What you cannot ask this witness is, so then do you think he believed he beat it? I mean, that is something that this witness can't testify to, that I know of. If you have some reason to believe you think she can testify to that. But I mean, if it's just, oh, I can put 2 and 2 together, he'd been out for 17 years on bond and not been, tried yet, then that's something that is not beyond the ken of any juror, and you can argue that in your closing, but you can't ask this witness that question, okay?
Yes.
Everybody clear now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.